On this episode of Locked On Angels, the Halos complete the sweep of the Padres. It's their first one at home all season long. We'll talk about how they did it. Plus, did the Angels lose their screen time privileges? We'll talk about what that means, and we'll revisit the 2021 all-pitcher draft. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you want to give back to Mike and I, the Super Halo Bros, there's a couple things that you can do. First of all, leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. That really helps us out. Plus, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. That really helps us out as well. And if you're watching or listening, come on over to YouTube, find today's episode, and get in on the conversation in the comment section. It's the best way to get in touch with us. And today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. What's going on, everybody? You got John Frisch here, one half of the Super Halo Bros. My brother Mike is watching his son graduate high school tonight, so I'm recording this one solo, but I'm happy you decided to join us. We're so happy and thrilled to be the host of Locked On Angels. It's our third season here, and we're talking Angels baseball Monday through Friday through the entire season. On today's show, we're revisiting that all-pitcher draft from 2021. Was it a win or a loss? And we'll discuss the change in the dugout involving technology and iPads. So we're going to get into those conversations a little bit later on. But first, we have to talk about the sweep of the Padres, how sweep it is, just to sweep. It was great to see the Angels take on Dylan Cease in this one. Dylan Cease came into this one with a 5-4 record, a 3.42 ERA, and a sub-1 whip. You know, the Padres made that big trade for him from the White Sox in order to get him and really wanted to enhance the rotation. So it was not going to be an easy game for the Halos, but it started out right. We'll talk about how it happened. But let me talk about Jose Soriano for a second. He opposed Dylan Cease in this one. He went 6 innings pitched. There were 2 runs. One of those was earned. There was 1 walk, 1 strikeout, and 85 pitches. And you're probably asking, how was there 1 strikeout? Well, he got 11 ground ball outs because that sinker was really working for him tonight. So it was great to see Jose Soriano be the good version of Jose Soriano. We know he's still learning out there. He's still figuring out how to be a starter. But man, he looked really good last night. Even when he faced some trouble, he was able to get through those 6 innings pitched. Let's take it from the top. In the first inning, Soriano actually gave up back-to-back singles to Luis Arraez and Fernando Tatis Jr., but Arraez was out trying to make it over to third. It was kind of a funky single that bounced off Rengifo from Tatis, and it stayed fair down the left field line. But Rengifo was able to pick it up and get Arraez out at third, and then Machado grounded into a double play. Next up, in the bottom of the first, Nolan Schanuel gets a hanging slider for a leadoff home run. This one went 101.4 miles per hour off the bat, 384 feet. Only a home run at Angel Stadium, by the way. So we kind of lucked out with that one. Now from the top of the second, 3 ground ball outs from Jose Soriano. The bottom of the second, there was a hard single from O'Hoppe. Kind of an unlucky liner to short for Joe Adell. He hit it real hard, but it was right at Ha-Seong Kim. And then a 2-run homer from Big Papa, Zach Neto. He loves it when you call him Big Papa. That one went 105.4 miles per hour off the bat, 406 feet to left center field. Zach Neto, man, coming through for us once again, the second night in a row, too. So it was great to see him get that 2-run home run. That was all the offense that happened for the Angels in this one because it was a 3-2 final game. Now, I have to bring this up because you guys know me. There was a 3-2 pitch to Ha-Seong Kim at the top of the zone, but CB Buckner is back there in this game and called it a ball. And then, so you're frustrated with that. Of course, it's CB Buckner. But then Campusano gets a called strike 3 with a fastball off the edge of the zone. So he gave it right back to Soriano. But man, having CB Buckner back there was just a roller coaster as we've talked about umpires over the season. Now, in the top of the fourth, Manny Machado was running down to first base, and he pulled up and it looks like he hurt his hamstring. Talk about third baseman with hamstrings running to first base, getting hurt. We know all about that, don't we, guys? So he left the game, and I hope that he does well. It was some pressure off the Angels pitching, considering Machado was batting third in the order, and he got replaced by Solano. So not quite the same person there. Now, at this point, the top of the fifth, 4.2 innings, 4 2/3 innings, Soriano has 11 ground ball outs at this point, which is incredible to see. Bottom of the fifth, there was some nasty sliders from Dylan Cease. He got Schanuel, or I should say, he got Neto to swing at some nasty ones out of the zone. Then he got Paris to swing at one too, but then there was a catcher's interference when he swung at a fastball. And then he ended up stealing second with Schanuel up. Unfortunately, while it was a good at bat from Schanuel, trying to go the other way and get that run home for Kyron Paris, it was a high bouncer for the out. Then some trouble came in the sixth inning for Jose Soriano. He gave a base hit to Campusano, a single to Luis Ariz. Then the ball goes out to left field, and Taylor Ward picks it up, completely misses Zach Neto. I don't know who he's throwing at, but it misses literally every infielder. Ward threw it to nobody, so Campusano scored. Ariz was able to get to third. Then Tatis drops a hit in front of Joe Adell, who's trying to scoop it, and it ends up bouncing off of his glove. So Ariz is able to come home and score. So that made it 3-2. And that really tells me there goes our streak of clean defense and good decisions and things like that. We said the other day that Taylor Ward, anytime you get the ball, just look for Zach Neto. That's all you have to do out there. And so it was just another absurd moment for Taylor Ward out in left field. Really just who you throwing it to, dude. It reminded me of that Joe Adell play from a couple of years ago where Anthony Rendon is telling him to go to first, and Joe Adell thinks he's going to go home, so he throws it between first and home. It looked a lot like that, and it was just not great. There was a ground ball from Soriano to get the second out. A sac bunt moved from Cronenworth, moved Solano to second base, but then Jurickson Profar hits a shot, but it was a great rundown in center field from Kevin Pillar. He really covered some ground out there to get that final out, get Soriano out of trouble, and get him out of the inning and out of the game. Again, a great start from Soriano, kept his cool, and really utilized the sinker very well. Now, there hadn't been any hits since Neto's home run in the second, but right after they mentioned that on the broadcast, Rengifo hits a single to lead off the bottom of the sixth. Unfortunately, he's thrown out stealing second. It was a bad jump and a 97-mile-an-hour fastball upstairs. I hated that steal attempt, not only because he got a bad jump, it just felt super obvious. And I think it was so obvious to everybody that Dylan Cease's fastball above the zone was essentially a pitch out because Campusano was able to get up and throw out Rengifo at second. So just kind of forcing the issue there. I mean, considering they hadn't had a hit since the second inning, since Zach Neto's homer, you'd think that you wouldn't want to press things there. And in fact, Taylor Ward was able to walk, so that would have put Rengifo in second. Anyway, Adam Simber comes in. He's able to get through the inning. And then, of course, later on, there's Ben Joyce making his 2024 debut. And we were all very excited. He did hit 103.3 on his fastball, which is what he's known for. And I mentioned yesterday, I thought he would get into this game considering the way the bullpen had been used. So he came in the eighth inning. And Ben Joyce clearly has some nerves going on. His first pitch, 103, overthrown in the dirt, gets past Ohapi back there. Tatis is a pro, and he hits a 101 fastball up back toward right center field. And so he got on with a base hit. Then there was a slider to Ohapi. That was a wild pitch. That one hit the dirt. That put Tatis on second. Then a slider to Solano becomes a ground out to third. Tatis stays at second. Ohapi comes out, talks to Joyce, tries to calm him down. They get a ground out from Cronenworth, and Joyce didn't even look back at Tatis. Tatis went about halfway and decided to go back to second base. That was kind of a problem on Ben Joyce's part, considering He should have looked Tatis back to second, but fortunately Tatis decided for himself to go back to second base. Then there was a fly out to Adele in right field from Jurickson Profar. It was a great catch up against the wall, kind of made up for that missed scoop he had earlier in the game. And he covered a ton of ground to make that catch over in right field. Finally, Matt Moore, kind of the last good reliever available for the save. He comes in, he gets a pop-up. Then there's a foot race to the bag between Moore and Jackson Merrill. Now, Merrill's 21 years old. Of course, he's going to outrun Matt Moore. And Schanuel tosses the ball to Matt Moore. And at first, everybody thinks that Jackson Merrill is safe. Turns out, on the replay, Matt Moore had a really sneaky tag, and he was able to get Merrill out at first. And what's funny about it is the umpires got together, and without even going to New York, the Angels didn't even have to challenge. The umpires overturned it and called him out because somebody said, hey, he got him on the leg before the foot went down. So then the Padres challenge, and the call is confirmed. Then finally, Matt Moore gets a pop-up from Ha-Sung Kim to get the save and end the game. The Angels win this one 3-2, completing their first sweep at home of the season. They've won 3 in a row. Look, there was some sloppy defense, some sloppy decision-making, things that kind of make you cringe as you're watching as a fan, because what they did on Monday and Tuesday was exactly what they need to do every single game. And Ward throwing to nobody in the infield. Kyron Paris had a play where he tried to go to second base, but his whole body was taking him toward first base. And so he ended up throwing the ball to second. It was not a good throw. Neto couldn't catch it. And so that was a wasted opportunity for the out. And so there were some kind of bad decisions being made throughout this game. I hope that the Angels can reset because they have the Astros coming into town on Friday. In fact, I want to thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen every single day. The Angels are playing the Astros on Friday at home, 6:38 Pacific time. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. All you got to do is search Angels. Coming up on Locked On Angels, did Perry Minasian whiff on the all pitchers draft of 2021? Well, we're going to dive in and decide together, and that's coming right up. Hey, today's show is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. It's the most fun, exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. It keeps you involved in the game. With Prize Picks, you can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or pick less on 2 to 6 players and their stat projections, and you're locked in. That's it. You're locked on with us, and you're locked in with Prize Picks. You can add your favorite players from the diamond to your Prize Picks lineups all season long, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, first inning runs, or home runs like Nolan Schanuel. Take your pick of more or less and add them to your Prize Picks lineup today. And Prize Picks offers Apple Pay, so you can get a quick and easy deposit into your account this season. So download the app today, enter our code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100. So again, anything up to $100 that you put in, Prize Picks is going to match that for you with our code LOCKEDONMLB, all one word, all lowercase. Get that first deposit match of up to $100. Join Prize Picks today. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And every day, if you haven't done so already, check out Locked On Sports Today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel on YouTube and the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. They're talking sports all day long, 24/7, with analysis, opinions, and news from all your favorite Locked On Sports hosts from across the entire sports world. So you can get baseball, basketball, NHL, playoffs are happening. You're going to want all of that on Locked On Sports Today. Again, free on YouTube 24/7 and also on the Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Speaking of your team every day, the Angels are playing the Astros at 6:38 Pacific time on Friday night. They have an off day today, so you can catch them on SiriusXM with the SXM app. All you got to do is search Angels. Now, we had this question come up a couple of days ago. Somebody wanted to know what became of all the pitchers that the Angels drafted in 2021. And if you remember, it was Perry Manassian's first season getting a chance to draft in that season of 2021. It was his first time drafting, and he decided, I'm going to fix this Angels need pitching problem. And so he drafted and used all of his picks on pitchers. Most of them were college pitchers. They drafted 20. They signed 19 pitchers. And so I want to take you through the pitchers that they were able to sign and tell you what's going on with them. Now, of course, I've got it up on the screen here, but if you're listening on the audio side, I'll go slow for you so that way you can keep up. But of course, they had Sam Bachman as their first pick of the draft. He's 24 years old. He's been up with the team in the past. In 2023, he came out of the bullpen. A shoulder issue has put him on the injured list. And recently, he started rehabbing in the Arizona Complex League, pulled himself out of a rehab start with some neck stiffness. And so far in rehab, he's pitched 3 2/3 innings pitched, 2 hits, hasn't given up a run yet, 7 strikeouts, no walks, and get this, a .63 whip. So less than one guy is getting on per inning, which is great to see. So Sam is a question mark because of the injuries. We'll talk about what that means a little bit later. Kai Busch was their second-round pick. He was traded to the White Sox with Edgar Caro last season for Lucas Giolito and Reynaldo Lopez. So far with the White Sox AA team, he's having a great year, and this makes me really sad that we made that trade, even though we were excited about it at the time. Mike and I admit that because we wanted the Angels to go all in with Shohei Ohtani on this team. But Kai Busch, a 2.18 ERA in 10 starts. He's 4-2 with 65 Ks and 23 walks. He has a 1.092 whip. Number 3 that they took in the draft, Landon Marceau. He was traded with Coleman Crow to the Mets for Eduardo Escobar. He's actually out for the season, and I'm not really sure the injury. I tried to look up what the issue was, but he is not pitching for the Mets minor league system right now. Luke Murphy is a reliever for the Angels. He has had a lot of time in Double-A. Had a great 2022, 2.62 ERA in 37 games for the Trash Pandas. 2023 and 2024, his ERA has actually skyrocketed. In last year, it was 6.06 in 44 games. This year, it's 7.80 ERA in 14 games so far. That's across 15 innings. And then number 5, Brett Carey. We talked about him the other day, maybe being an option of somebody they could bring up as a spot starter. But between Double-A and Triple-A this year, Brett Carey is 2-2 with a 4.45 ERA in 9 starts, a 1.189 whip, and an 8.6 Ks per 9. So some good stats there from Brett Carey. And again, he's starting. He's not a relief guy. And that's something you're going to notice about these guys is that many of them kind of figure to be relievers. Let's go on to number 6. Pick number 6, Jake Smith is currently in high A. He's had better years this year. He's got a 9.77 ERA in 13 games as a reliever. The walks are a huge issue for him. Ryan Costo from high A has had 4 starts. He's got a 3.86 ERA across 11 2/3 innings pitched and a 1.2 whip. So there's some promise there. He's having a good season in high A, but he was drafted 2021 and he's still in high A. So that's something to consider. Nick Jones is a reliever for the Trash Pandas. He's got a 3.2 ERA in 16 games and a 1.068 whip, 25 Ks versus 1 walk this season. So I feel like he could certainly be a bullpen option. Now, Braden Olthoff retired from baseball. He was the number 9 pick, but according to Twitter, I found his Twitter account. He's still cheering on his old teammates. So he actually retired and he is no longer in the league. Andrew Peters is playing independent baseball after not making it above high A. Then pick number 11, 321 overall, Chase Silseth, who has started for the Angels. He came up in 2022 and was going to be a full-time starter this year, but he got hurt. He's been rehabbing in the Arizona Complex League. His last start, 3 innings pitched, 23 of his 39 pitches were strikes, 3 strikeouts, 1 hit. He went back on the IL on April 8th. He'll need a couple more starts before he comes back, but like we talked about, he might not be back in time to take that Detmer spot. It's going to take a few more starts Then number 12, Mason Albright was part of that trade to Colorado for Randall Grichuk and CJ Cron. He currently ranks 21 of the Rockies' top 30 prospects. And with the AA team this year, he's got a 4.63 ERA in 10 starts, 3-3 with a 1.433 whip. And then moving on to number 13 is Mo Hanley, single A. He's in single A right now. He's had 3 games as a reliever, but a 13.5 ERA. Ugh. Eric Torres was 14th and 411 overall that year in 2021. He's a reliever with the Trash Pandas. His name has come up a lot on Locked On Angels because we would like to see him be a solid reliever for the Angels. He's been in 11 games this season with a 1.80 ERA in 15 innings, 24 strikeouts, 11 walks, and a 1.267 whip. Glenn Albanese, number 15 that the Angels picked that year. He's on the 60-day IL. He had a great year in high A his first year in 2021. Spent most of 22 in high A, but he did pitch with the Trash Pandas. And that year, across high A and double A, he had a 3.66 ERA in 46 2/3 innings pitched. He did struggle in 2023. He had a 6.97 ERA in high A, but that was only in 10 innings, and I wonder if this injury had something to do with it. Brandon Dufault is also on the 60-day IL. He got into 34 games as a reliever in high A in 22, and he had a 4.93 ERA. And then last year, he got into 16 games as a reliever in double A with a 5.66 ERA. Mason Erla, he's having a great season with the Trash Pandas. 15 relief appearances, 4 saves, and a 1.83 ERA. Then Nick Mondak is also on the 60-day IL. He hasn't pitched this year. They tried him both as a starter and a reliever. He had, okay numbers as a starter, but as a reliever, he's had very similar numbers as well. 16 relief appearances, 27.2 innings pitched, a 5.53 ERA. And then finally, number 19, Nathan Burns was released in March of 2024. So if I can sum it up for you, here's what I think it comes down to. I think the hits in this one were Sam Bachman. Maybe he wasn't a number 1 pick. He still has a future with the Halos. The injuries are concerning. He might only remain as a reliever because starting, I think they're trying to make him a starter, but those injury concerns might keep him as a reliever. Obviously, Chase Silseth is somebody that they hit on. I think they hit on Brett Carey, Nick Jones, Mason Erla, Eric Torres, Ryan Costio, Luke Murphy, maybe if he gets back to that 2022 version of him. Then you got to think about Kai Bush and Mason Albright. If the Angels had held on to those guys, they were good picks, but it's a shame they got traded considering how the Angels absolutely fell apart after the trade deadline. Really a waste of good prospects and trade capital because things just did not pan out. But that's why you have good trade capital, so that you can make moves like that when you are trying to make a playoff push. Most of these guys that I think the Angels hit on, I'd say about 10 out of 20 are ones that are worth it. They're going to be excellent relievers, but maybe Bachman, Silseth, maybe another starter in there. They may stick as starters. So I don't think that they entirely solve the Angels pitching problem. The main issue here is that the Angels, by going with all pitchers, missed out on some really good position players. Matt McLean was drafted that year. Christian Encarnacion Strand was drafted that year. Sal Frelick from the Brewers, Jackson Merrill, who we saw with the Padres, Connor Norby, who just got called up by the Orioles, and Ryan Bliss were all names for the taking, but the Angels went with pitchers instead of position players. But maybe, is it the other pitchers that they missed out on? Listen to these names. Gavin Williams with the Guardians, Andrew Abbott with the Reds, Robert Gasser, who is with the Brewers now. He is from San Diego. Mason Miller, the A's closer, who's lighting it up right now. And then Bryce Miller, the Mariners starter, Brian Wu, the Mariners starter, and then get this, Tanner Bybee, you guys. So those were also names that they could have drafted, but they didn't go with those guys. So it's up to you. Was this a win or a loss? I think that 10 out of 20 is pretty good for a draft of guys that could be something. We'll see who sticks, and we'll see who flounders, and we'll see who might be able to be good for us in the future. I think the Angels have a great bullpen on the way, but we'll see what happens. Hey, today's Locked On Angels is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. They are now an authorized ticket marketplace for MLB, which makes tickets even faster and easier. Game Time is obsessed with finding you ways to save you money on tickets. With Game Time, you can get last-minute deals and save up to 60% off for sports, concerts, comedians, theater, whatever you want. You can save even more money with exclusive in-app flash deals and select seats ahead of the game or the event, so they choose it for you at a discount. You can save even more on zone deals when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. Game Time has all-in pricing. It shows the total price up front. There's no surprise fees when you check out. You can also get a panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy, and they have the lowest price guarantee. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Plus, with every purchase you receive their Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. I've done it. It's great. Super easy to use. LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. So the Angels are grounded. What do I mean by that? Well, they've lost their screen time privileges. We've been joking about this, but let me explain what's actually happening here. First, on the Angels broadcast on Monday, Wayne Randazzo mentioned that the Angels coaching staff have limited the use of iPads in the dugouts. Now, of course, iPads, they're going to be used to watch replays. They're going to look up data and analytics on the players that the Angels are facing. Hitters can watch their at-bat back and see how someone got them out, or check the movement on the opposing pitcher's pitch. Maybe a starter wants to see the mistake they made to a hitter or where they located a pitch to get somebody out. So the iPads are not necessarily a bad thing, but the problem is that Ron Washington and company, they found that the iPads were too distracting to the players. They weren't keeping their heads in the game and watching what was going on. Now, if the players want to use the iPads, they actually have to go to the hitting coach, the pitching coach. They have to go to the coaches in the dugout who actually are holding on to the iPads. Again, it feels like they've lost their screen time and they've got to ask mom or dad if they can use the iPad. And so this is meant to create conversation between the players and the coaches. It also keeps them from missing what's going on in the game, so they're not distracted looking at their last at bat and not paying attention to what's currently going on in the field. Now, is this a good thing? Well, I feel like there are some good things about it. One of the things that Mike and I have often talked about on this show is how the Angels have not always been good at reading the room, right? That is to say, maybe they don't understand the situation that's playing out on the field. And for example, how many times have we watched an opposing starting pitcher struggle to locate and get strikes, and they can't hit the zone, and they're walking guys, they're obviously struggling, and then the next Angel hitter comes up and takes a big old hack on the first pitch, and then it's a ground out or a fly out or something like that. That is infuriating to me. And I wonder if a lot of those situations, those first pitch swings, are the result of a player not paying attention, not reading the room. Maybe it's too much screen time on the iPad. I think that it's a good thing in the sense that it creates a reliance on the coaching staff to talk through these things with the players, because again, they have to go to the coaching staff in order to see, hey, what happened in this situation? Can you pull that up? Can you pull up that last at bat for me? I want to see what I did wrong. I think that can be a good thing. But on the other hand, let me talk about Troy Percival for a minute. You guys remember Troy Percival? Obviously. There was an interesting article from Sam Blum back in November in The Athletic about Troy Percival visiting the Angels instructional camp. And he had some opinions on technology and using iPads. And Percival said, I'm not one that's big on using iPads. And he said, I understand it. I had to understand it through college coaching. I just feel like we have coaches with eyes that can see things and put their hands on people and fix them. It's really difficult to look at an iPad and think that it can make the adjustments that one needs to make. Right after that, you guys, the Angels let go of the two highest ranking instructors for pitching in their farm system. Buddy Carlisle, the pitching coordinator, the guy who saved Reeve Detmer's slider and helped him get right 2 years ago, and Dylan Axelrod, who is a pitching performance coordinator who used to work at Driveline. People briefed on the changes, according to Sam Blum, said Percival's frustration with his visit played at least a factor in the decision to oust them. Now, Buddy Carlisle ended up getting hired by the Rays, and that's not a good thing for the Angels. If the Rays want somebody in their organization, that's a loss on the Angels' part. So what does all this mean for the Angels? Does it feel like babysitting? Does it feel like the coaches have to hold on to the iPads because the kids aren't paying attention? Is there a middle ground where, yes, they can go to the coaches and find out what they missed in that at bat or how that pitcher's slider is moving that night, right? Is that the middle ground here? They're still using technology, but it also is helping to keep the players' heads in the game. I'm interested to hear what you have to say. So what do you guys think? I want to hear from you. Get in the comment section on the episode on YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen every single day. The Angels are playing the Astros on Friday, 6:38 Pacific time at home. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. Just search Angels. Hey, you can give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and also on Twitter and Instagram at Super Halo Bros. Mike's going to be back with me tomorrow, and we're going to be answering your questions and voicemails for Fan Mail Friday. And you know what? If you didn't know we had a voicemail line, we do. Let me give you the number here. It's 714-409-6396. And you can always find that number in the episode description as well. We already got a few voicemails lined up for tomorrow's show. So I hope you reach out to us on social media, also get in our voicemail, maybe even leave your question in the YouTube comments. We'll definitely see it there as well. All right, Mike's going to be back now that my nephew is all grown up and graduated. Mike's going to be back with us tomorrow, so we look forward to that. Until then, my name is John. I appreciate you being here with me, and I'm looking forward to talking with you tomorrow for Fan Mail Friday. We'll see you back here for Fan Mail Friday. I feel like I got to sing the dun, 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 for my nephew.